Hi, this is Brandy Shantz, and you're listening to Living Chronic. Today I'm here with Tanja Degitz, and she does some healing through nervous system regulation, has an Insta, Making It Possible. She's a coach, and she's just really done a lot about, learning how to regulate your own body and your pain and heal from within without necessarily going the drug route. So I'm really excited. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And hi, and welcome everybody that's listening.
So, again, thank you. I'm really excited. I talk a lot about total wellness and about taking a look at yourself from within. And of course, anybody who's been listening to this podcast for a little while knows that we've had a lot of really great experts on talking about the relationship between your mind and your body, which is something I'm still learning about. And it's really fascinating how much our mind does dictate how we feel. And you started with just some low back pain, some hip pain, something a lot of people experience. And you found that it wasn't necessarily just due to lack of exercise and sitting, um, but you didn't, really find something outside of the doctors diagnosing you with fibromyalgia or something along that route. And that's when you started studying the healing through the nervous system. So tell me a little bit more about that and how you really made that connection.
When I first had the hip and low back pain, I already hit sky bottom, like rock bottom, you say, not sky bottoms, rock bottom. But I think it was not rock bottom enough. So when I started experiencing hand pain in both sides as well, which I back then thought I just was going to the gym not regularly enough and then putting too much weight on. Even, I was telling myself all these stories like we make up in the mind. Everybody that's probably
Mhm.
listening to the podcast can relate to that. And the truth is, it isn't always just overuse of joints or having sat too long, because ask yourself, do you think everybody experiences low back pain or hip pain that has been sitting prolonged? I don't think so. There's people out there
Mhm.
that sit for 10 hours and they don't have any pain. So
Right.
that connection didn't really make sense. And when I wasn't able to use my hands anymore, there were an increased and a decrease of activities that I was able to do that I loved. Because I love journaling, mindset journaling, or any journaling for that matter, and baking and anything with my hands, basically. Like if you can't use your hands, there's not that much, like you aren't able to clean your house, you aren't able to do everyday things.
Mhm.
I'm typing a lot. I'm a coach and a teacher, so I work from home all the time. And when that was happening, and I was like, I need to find another way because the Western medicine road wasn't working for me. They just were stuffing me
Mhm.
with painkillers. And what it did, it didn't even take the pain away. So that was the frustrating
Right.
thing. It didn't take it all away. I still felt it. It was a little bit reduced, but sometimes it didn't work at all. And then I just discovered this mentor, and she was offering a course around nervous system regulation and somatic healing. And that's how I got into it. And at the beginning, I had a lot of resistance. And I said, I can't slow down. Like, I can't do these things. This
Right.
is never
Too
going to
many things
work.
to do.
I didn't even have to believe it's going to work for me, but I knew deep in my soul that I needed to try something outside the box. And I've always been a rebel. So I was always going against the grain. I left Germany in 2017. I've quit my job that sucked in Berlin. But all these like traumas from the past were still stuck in my body. And
Mhm.
I didn't really know about it because I tried with mindset coaching. I tried to coach myself. I tried to work with a life coach. And I discovered that I really love coaching, but I didn't discover how to heal my body and mind. So I started deep diving into nervous system regulation and I started really loving it. And I started just experimenting with different exercises, like humming or self-touch, like just putting your hands on
Mhm.
your body, breathing, different forms of meditation. barefoot walking, swimming in the ocean. I just figured out what my nervous system likes when it feels dysregulated.
Mhm.
Because it's normal to feel dysregulated. Everybody gets stressed. But it's really important to complete the loop, of releasing the stress. Otherwise, it gets stored in the body, and then we're in trouble. And that's how chronic pain is basically developed. So it's normal if you are diving into this work that you're feeling resistant. Or you might not. The less resistance you have, the faster you're going to make progress. But if you do have
Right.
resistance, then that's also a really good starting point. And the question that I would ask everybody out there that's listening is, when you close your eyes, what are you feeling in your body right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it that's coming up right now for you? And when
Well, I
I
think for
got
me,
that question asked, it was nothing. Sorry?
nothing. I think with so many of us, it's pain. We just live with that pain every day. That's what our body's feeling. What is it? It's
Mm-hmm.
the ache. It's the
Mm-hmm.
exhaustion. It's the, you know, whatever it is that you're going through at that moment in time.
Yeah, and then I would invite you to feel into that pain and just
Mm-hmm.
let it be there for a little bit, and then focus on its cultivating. And you can focus on an area that feels neutral in your body or that feels good. Often for me, that's my toes. There's never any pain in
Oh,
my toes.
interesting.
Whereas in my jaw, in my hands, I feel in my upper back. That's a new thing as well. But I know it's also just something emotional. So just reminding yourself that most likely, if it's prolonged pain and it's chronic, there is an aspect of nervous system dysregulation that you need to look at.
Right.
And it's a body
I
mind
love
issue,
that.
how we call it.
Yes. Well, and your mind, the nervous system as a whole. I'm learning so much about both of these things, and I think many people around the world are. Of course, I've been going through a lot of pain over these past, well, 10 years really with the Crohn's, but 3 years especially. And I've really focused in on what the relationship is between that pain and my mind. But also, like many people, I had some nervous system damage because one, I went through a, very serious reaction to a drug I was on, Humira, but also I had COVID. And many people who had COVID now have nervous system damage. So we're learning all these things we never thought about. I mean, I know we all learned about the nervous system in school, maybe even studied, I took some exercise science classes in college. That was about the end of that. I keep up my personal training license. So, that system comes up every once in a while. But worldwide, we don't think about the nervous system. But you,
No.
before any of us got COVID and had to learn about it, you really focused in on that. So I think this is really important to make those connections between right now. So you're talking about, how your body feels. And of course, the nervous system affects everything: your touch, your senses, your feeling. I've learned, now that I have all this lovely numbness in my hands and feet all the time, it affects whether you can feel things or not. So how really do you learn how to regulate it?
I think the most important thing is to realize in which state of your nervous system that you're at. Because we don't always
Mm-hmm.
have to calm down. We sometimes have to upregulate. So especially if you're feeling really low, really like not motivated for anything, like lack of energy, then it's time to upregulate. And then I would go outside for a walk, but it would be a walk without my phone. Ideally, I don't always stick to that. And a walk in nature is really good, but every nervous system is really different. But that's what I do. That's my first go-to, unless I don't really have big flare-ups anymore. Like a flare-up would still mean that I am capable and able to clean my house, for example, with regulating in between. So there's many different
Mm-hmm.
things that you can do. Barefoot walking, for example, is amazing, like on the grass, just grounding yourself.
Right.
Another one, sorry?
I'm just putting it all together. That feet in the grass is amazing.
Yeah. Or in the sand on the beach. I
Oh,
live in Spain. Usually
lovely.
I'm currently visiting, so going for a swim in a cold river, if that's available for you, even
Mm,
just for a couple of minutes, or in the sea, or in the ocean, in the lake, or even just taking a mindful shower. So not doing anything else at the same time, not listening to a podcast or music or stressing about what you're going to cook for dinner, but really being present in the
mhm,
moment and feeling like how you rub the soap on your skin, for example, like soaking in that smell. And another really good
mhm,
exercise is, I don't know if I can put it together right now, but it's 5 things you see, and then things you can hear, things you can smell, what you can taste, and like focusing on that. So mindfulness is great. Um, when I'm really stressed, I like to meditate, guided or non-guided, doesn't matter. I like to do the yoga pose that's called legs up the wall.
oh, yes.
It's you lay down and you put your legs up the wall, and I put one hand on my
Mhm,
heart, one hand on my belly. So
mhm.
that's also really great if you are able to do that. In the beginning, I had to flex my knees because I was so stiff I couldn't do it. I had so much tension. Um, and what else? There's so many things really. Also being with somebody that has a regulated nervous system and co-regulating.
Mhm.
So what I've noticed is when I had these mysterious bladder issues with the urgency of
Okay.
peeing and stuff in March and April, I noticed that I was hanging out with a friend of mine, which is also a spiritual healer and guide and coach. And we hung out, and my symptoms were gone for the time being. So I was feeling
Yeah.
safe. And when I got
Yes.
home, they came back, but still, that was already a sign that it is a mind body issue.
Mhm,
And so, feeling really stressed, I would always recommend something calming down. And when you're feeling more like
mhm.
low, or when you feel numb, for example, it's a good thing to like sway from right to left.
Uh-huh.
Or you can do the butterfly hug. It's really nice.
Oh,
Tapping your
Jesus.
shoulders like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so good.
Mhm.
Um,
You know,
yeah.
I've noticed there's a thread. There's definitely a thread. I keep talking to different, and it doesn't matter. Different viewpoints. Whether it's somebody who regulates themselves through yoga, or I've had psychiatrists come on, chiropractors. All these various people, and there's just a common thread with a lot of things. And one of them is just get outside, go
Yeah.
outside.
When you're
That
too
is helpful.
alone, yeah, when you're alone too much, and I live by myself in Spain, that can also be dysregulating. I never knew that.
Mhm.
I never knew that. And
Yeah.
one way is just to go outside by yourself, because you're still going to see strangers. That is still some
Mhm.
form of connection. You have a connection to yourself. But just being at home a lot, especially now after the pandemic, and when you're working from home
Yes.
and you're an entrepreneur like me, it's damaging to the mental health. And yeah, so that get outside and
And
change
that's
your
the thing.
environment is great. And sometimes I realize I go
Yeah, talk
outside
about
and I
worldwide
walk.
problems.
Sorry?
Hmm. No, you can't talk about worldwide problems. These are
Yeah.
things that so many people are experiencing: the loneliness, the
Mhm.
depression, the feeling alone.
Yeah,
So many people are going through that as well.
especially when you are experiencing pain and there is a time when your friends and family they had enough of it, like they don't even
Mhm.
th- because either they've never had the experience or they are in a similar headspace. So my dad has chronic pain
Mhm.
as well, and he's not choosing my approach or any body mind approach for that matter. um, he's not open to that, not open to change his life either, still eating unhealthy, is still drinking alcohol and all that.
Right.
Whereas, I've made tons of lifestyle changes as well. I'm not numbing anymore, like with alcohol, partying, or whatever. If I do that, it's a conscious choice of I'm going to go and dance with my friends and I'm having a drink. But I haven't really felt that
Right.
need in the last years probably, or months.
Yeah, good for you. That's a big change. Yeah.
It's been
If
2-3 years, so it's not something that happens overnight. But a good starting point is
right.
always to learn more about the nervous system and also to hire support. And that doesn't necessarily have to be me, but just somebody that listens to you and makes you feel seen and heard and is qualified and knows about trauma and the
Hmm.
mind-body approach. It's so powerful because
Hmm.
I never believed it, but you are going to be like, you are kind of alone in your body, like nobody else is in your body. So
Yes.
when you are experiencing that pain-free times, you want somebody that you can celebrate with. And I still
Yeah,
message my mentor
absolutely.
from last year and I go, I've been on a plane for 7 hours from Brazil to Lisbon. I'm so happy. I had no flare up. Like, it's just great. And then also the opposite
I
when you are,
aspire to that one day.
sorry.
I aspired to that one day. I was on a plane last year to Paris and back to the US, and I thought I was going to die.
Oh no. I have really good
Yes.
tips for that
Yes.
if you want.
Those we need. I swore I was not getting on a plane again. And my poor husband is like, when are we going on vacation? And I keep saying, wherever we can drive.
Yeah, I totally get that. I had myself prepared, and I had a crystal in my pocket, and every time I needed something for safety, like a resource, you call it in the nervous system language, I was holding
Hmm.
that crystal, and I was like, okay, trust my body. I know I can do this. And I even had a gingivitis all over my gums, and I also self-healed that. Um,
Hmm.
So, like having a resource, grounding yourself in the morning. Also, there's an exercise that you can do, which is called orienting. And it doesn't look as weird in
Hmm.
public because you can just look around and orient yourself in the space and, make sure that you're safe in that space and you can look for a resource. And with a resource, I mean something that makes you feel good. Maybe for me today, for example, I have my oracle cards. Or I have my Palo Santo here, or I have like a pretty shell or a necklace that somebody that loves me gave me or something like that. Like that's a little bit of a
Hmm.
shell and my Palo Santo, and that's always something that makes me feel safe. So that is really something nice to do on a plane, and then definitely get some movement in if you can before you go.
So I want to ask you because you mentioned this earlier, and there's constant debate in my house about how detrimental these phones are to our lives. And, I'm a bit older than you, and then my husband's actually almost 10 years older than I am. And we remember a time where we didn't have cell phones at all. And I can talk about, how much more productive I am. I can email you from anywhere. I can, leave the office and people can still get a hold of me. But, you know, we also feel a slave to our phones. And my husband is purely of the thought that, the phones are just detrimental to our lives. They're killing us. And, we need to give up the phones. I'm not sure I need to give it up completely, but you talked about go outside, don't bring the phone. And when I do take
Yes.
my nature walk, when I just need that break, the times I leave my phone behind are the times I really do feel better, center myself, clear my head, and really get to the space I want to be in. So, where do you stand on this with the phones? How much do you regulate the phone use? Do you view the phone as something that is damaging when you're trying to regulate your nervous system?
So the phone is an endless flood of information. And our mind is not
Mm.
made for so many information at the same time. You can respond or react to anything. Just going on social media, I find it highly dysregulating. And, but it's part of modern life. In many ways, I think it's a great thing for emergencies, for example, or for me as
Mhm.
self-employed, like there's not that much of a choice, honestly. But you can set boundaries around it, and you can, for example, deactivate some of the apps, or even delete them over the
Mm-hmm.
weekend, or turn off the notifications. So I've done that for all social media. I don't get notifications for
Mm-hmm.
Messenger on Facebook. So I can consciously decide to go into it. Another thing is out of sight, out of mind. So just put it away.
Yes.
But I think it's not great for mental health, and it's also taking away from your presence. So you're never really present, because I spoke about this with my best friend, and
Right.
she said, okay, so I'm with somebody and then I get a message, and then I'm with somebody else at the same time. So I'm here and there and nowhere really. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something I'm working through myself. I'm quite addicted to my phone, especially as entrepreneur.
Oh, my goodness,
Is
yes.
and especially if I, expect an answer from somebody. Like I'm hosting a women's circle on Monday, and there's always a lot of things to organize, and obviously I want to be of great service, but it doesn't have to mean that you need to be reachable all the time. So I think
Right.
setting these boundaries, and what I'm really strict about is not in the bedroom, not after I do my meditation and it's lights off, the phone is gone.
Right.
And I used to be amazing with not using it in the morning. That's also really important. So an hour before bedtime, and when you first wake up, the worst thing you can do, which I'm currently doing the last few weeks, because I've had a location change, went to Germany, so everything is different, and I use that as excuse, and I go on my phone and I just get so many messages. So you get outside influence, and it does things to you, because maybe you get a message and somebody is canceling an appointment you were looking forward to, or
Mm-hmm.
telling you suck, or you know hating on you on the internet, or just
Yes.
telling you bad news. Basically, that's why I don't watch the news as well. So I think the more you can reduce phone time and be strict about it, the better, but also mindfully using it, seeing the gifts in it. Like there's amazing apps like Insight Timer that you can use to meditate. There's so many gifts about phones as well. But to be completely honest, if I would be retired, I would really consider if I would still be having a phone, or just
You
be
know, I'm like
have
you.
it on
I'm probably
airplane
like
mode or something.
we're all alike these days, right? We're all addicted to our phones. And I've
Yeah,
often said the same thing because, yes, when you put it down and you walk away, at first you feel anxious. Oh my God, I don't have my phone. But then you enjoy life. We went to see, I can't
yeah,
remember who was the comedian. I know many artists do this in their shows now. And Ali Wong, that's who we went to see. And we have tickets to go see her live. And when you walk in, they immediately make you put your phone in this. You have to turn off your phone and then you put it in this bag and they lock it. And that's it, no phone.
nice.
And I remember thinking, what are they doing to me? What, you're taking my phone? I didn't even prepare for this. I didn't put out an away message, because, goodness knows, what are people going to do when I'm not available from 7 to 9 p.m., right? Um, I didn't prepare, but you know what? At the end of the day, it didn't matter. Nobody asked where I was, and I really enjoyed the show in a way that I don't think I had before. When you have your phone and you're so busy trying to record the moment, take photos of the moment, tweet the moment, you know,
Everything,
you're just
yeah.
in the, and it
Yeah,
does make a difference.
for sure. I felt so relaxed when last year I was on a cruise with my ex-boyfriend from Barcelona to Sao Paulo to Brazil. And
Mhm.
we chose not to book the Wi-Fi package. And that was my first real vacation where I really did
Oh,
zero work. I really didn't work. I read a couple of self-development books because that's what I do. I love it. I can't stop. And I journaled and these kind of things, a lot of self-care, but I was able to use my phone, but for podcasts, not for WhatsApp, for nothing that requires the internet. And that's a really great
right.
use of your phone.
Yes.
And I was so much more present. Like we actually had to old school, because I had a friend on the cruise as well. So we had to old school call him in his
Oh
room
my
to meet up. I loved it.
God. Oh,
It's great.
that there's a lot to be said for those days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's a relation when we talk about all of these various things, the relationship between our bodies and our minds, and we look at the phones and how we live our modern lives. But you can clearly see, and I'm going to put together I've been gathering a lot of this data, and I am going to put a chart up on my website someday soon, but there's a clear pattern. The increase in the number of chronic illnesses that we have, the pain,
Yeah,
chronic pain many people have, and then the increase in the use of phones, the increase in the number of hours we work. It's all related. Working hard is great. Putting in those extra hours is great, but turn off the phone. Nobody needs to get a hold of you at 8 p.m.
exactly. And what's also really important, because you've mentioned working long hours, it doesn't have to be as big as a 1 hour walk in nature to regulate your nervous system. You can do mindful connections, mindful mini breaks, where you just
Mm-hmm.
put your hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, or one hand on your heart and one on your belly, and just tune into your body and see what it does, or what are you
Yeah,
feeling at the moment, and feeling into whatever it is that's going on at the moment, and then focusing on something good. And because our mind is always focusing on the worst case scenario, on the negative, but there's so much goodness as well, there's so much joy to have as well. And I think phones
you're
take
right.
some of the joy away.
So you've obviously done so great. You're much better. You told me before we started that you're about 80% healed from where you started. There's just so much to be said for, what you do. So I know you provide coaching to others as well. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. Yes, I provide coaching to women that want to self-heal from chronic symptoms and stress. And I'm getting trauma informed, and that's going to be happening within a week. It's a whole course, but I've really binged it since Monday. And I help them dig through the inner child, heal the inner child, and look at the emotional root cause. So what was going on in your life when you started having these symptoms? What does your body want to tell you? And we look into nervous system regulation. We do an assessment of your nervous system. So I give them a homework after the first session, it so annoyed me when I had to do it. You have to set an alarm, and then you have to tune in and see how your body feels, your body, mind, and your nervous system. And then you'll
Mhm.
learn about the different states of the nervous system. And it will be a course for the first 3 to 5 people, I would say. I want to co-create it. And it will be 4 months. And you are definitely going to reduce your symptoms. I can't promise that it's going to be fully healed. That's not realistic, because my nervous system has worked one way for 33 years, 34 years. It's not going to happen from one day to another. So this is really for people that are in it for the long run,
Mhm.
and they want to put the work in. And yeah, you'll walk away and be so much more compassionate to yourself, more patient, and you'll have better relationship, less pain, or less symptoms. You'll get to know yourself better. We dig into values as well. Because you kind of I don't want people to take this identity of chronic illness on. So I also help them reframe the language, and they can choose how they want to name their symptoms. I used to call it body situation, then I called it chronic pain, and now I'm at unwanted physical sensations, because it just
Oh,
gives it less emotional charge.
right.
And I say I'm on a healing journey instead of I have chronic pain. And I say I'm experiencing this, because it is an experience. It's not me. It's not
Mhm.
something I have, and it's not permanent. And it's a mix. My program is a mix of nervous system regulation and mindset work, because it goes hand in hand. And what I was missing last year when I worked with different mentors is that there was only the nervous system approach or only the mindset. So I brought it together.
Well, it really makes a difference. I spoke with somebody a few weeks ago who talked about reframing how you think about the pain.
Yeah, that's part
And
of it
I
too.
think trying to learn that, reframe how I
Yeah.
think about this. Is this pain as bad as I
Yes.
think it is? Is this really affecting me? Do I have to have this pain right now? And it makes a difference, especially when you wake up. I know there's so many people out there just like me. You're in pain every day of your life. So how are you going to think about that pain?
Exactly.
Reframe it. So it's The mind is a powerful, powerful organ.
Yes, if we know how to use it.
Mhm.
And that's an
Really?
ongoing journey as well. But I think what is different about me compared to other people and the experiences I made with my chiropractor, for example, where I went back for 1 year and it was always the same. Crack, 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 or click, click, click. And then I went home and I was better for a
Mhm.
day. And then I would be back at, the same spot again
Yep.
with my pain or with my unwanted symptoms. And I give people the tools to heal themselves. And it works. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm living proof that it works. And
Yep.
I'm completely open about that it's not fully healed, but I have longer sitting capacity. And I think it's also a little bit like negative to say it's only 80%. People have told me like I'm a new person. Like you can't compare to 2 years ago or even 1 year ago.
Right.
And this is 1 year into the work. So imagine what else is
Mhm.
possible. And that's why
Yes.
it's called making it possible, because pain-free living is possible.
It is. That's a great way. That's a great way to end this. It is possible. So your Insta is making it possible. You
Yes.
have a website as well, correct? What's your website?
No, I don't have a website. It's not something I believe in yet. I don't think I
I
need it.
know your Instagram pretty well. It's making it possible,
Yes.
and
And I have a
you do
Facebook page as well.
it's also making it possible.
No, it's Tanja Degitz. It's my name.
Is it so Tanja Degitz,
Hmm.
Degitz? I'll put you on my website as well.
Yes.
Also, add your
Perfect.
information into the show notes. Thank you so
Yes.
much. This has been a really great episode. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing what you do and helping us all to make it possible and live without pain.
Yes. Or any symptoms for that matter.
Yes.